The 2025 NBA trade deadline has officially ended, marking the end for one of, if not the biggest trade deadlines in league history. Players who we thought were never going to get moved ended up getting moved. Players who we thought were going to get traded ended up staying. And Cam Johnson and Myles Turner, somehow through it all, remain on their teams. So yeah, basically today I want to go through every single team, the teams who did trades and the teams that didn't, to decide how well they did and give them a grade based off that. So we're going to start off with some of the teams that did nothing this deadline. But before we do that, I want to say this really quick. I've rebranded the channel. I made a Twitter account and I made a blog for it. Basically, you're going to get similar content there as to what you get here. Plus, you're going to see more uploads from here more consistently from me because my upload schedule has been really ass. So if you want to help, go check it out. Link in bio. It'll help a lot. So first things first, we have the Nuggets, who, despite flooding rumors throughout the season, vocally chose to stand and stick with Michael Porter Jr. Now, Michael Porter Jr. has been really nice this year. Murray recently locked in, and Russ has been great. The team is doing well. They're a 4 seed, but their bench has been really bad. Aaron Gordon's had his normal injury issues, which has really slowed down his performance. Zeke Naji and Dario Saric are basically cheerleaders, and they somehow survived the deadline. All they have now is a buyout market, which, with how high the salaries are, they probably won't be as competitive on. So I'm going to give them a C, not because they really didn't need a move, but a move would have helped them so much in this now jam-packed Western Conference. Alright, so next up we have the Wolves. You could say they've done a move already with the Randall Cat trade, but that became before the season, so I don't count that. The Wolves are interesting because they actually apparently had a last-ditch effort to get KD, which the trade would be weird because second apron and they couldn't aggregate salaries. Probably some stuff with Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, maybe even Rob Dillingham. But it'd be a lot of workarounds. But like, if Ant and KD teamed up together, that would have been so nasty. But now the Wolves are in this trash situation where they have Randle. He's probably going to accept his player option. Doesn't fit that well. Their locker room's having some troubles. They're doing fine, but this is the fate that they suffered through the Cat trade. So they're going to get a C. Alright, so I'm going to quickly run through some of the other teams that didn't do trades because I don't have that much to say about them. First off, the Blazers, they kept DeAndre Ayton, they kept Robert Williams, they kept Jeremy Grant. Their value keeps going down. The team's still ass. They get a D because they should have just moved off to the mile already. The Magic, they didn't make a move despite having rumors of Fox, Cam, and Hunter and having a desperate need for three-point shooting. But I understand it. I think they're super young. Their top 3 stars have already proven themselves last year. They just haven't played it at all together this season. They still got a whole buyout market. They have an entire offseason. They still have assets. I'm going to give them a C+ because they have what's most valuable, and they have time. Next are the Nets, who for some reason kept Cam Johnson, which basically ruins their chances of getting Cooper Flag. But they're going to get an F. Alright, so we're going to start off big and go into the traded teams. And the first one is Mavs. I'm a current / former Mavs fan, and I could talk about this for hours, but I'm not going to because people have talked about this enough, and I want to pretend this never happened. So Dallas's infamous deadline had involved sending out Quentin Grimes, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris, 2 second-round picks, and some dude from Slovenia for Anthony Davis, Caleb Martin, Max Christie, a first and a second. If we're going to be honest, this doesn't really change their position in the league for contending for just this year. Obviously, past this year, there's so many levels of cooked, and I've seen so many outlets give them Fs, D+. But the Caleb Martin for Grimes trade has really grown on me, especially considering how well Max Christie has played. I think Anthony Davis is a really nice fit next to Kyrie. There's still issues of playmaking, but at the end of the day, they're still a top 3 team just for this season, so I'm going to give them a very, very kind C+. We're going to stay on that Luka AD train, and we're going to talk about the Lakers, who sent out AD, Max Christie, Dalton Necht, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and some first and a swap, basically for Luka and Mark Williams. So I feel like everyone on the planet has talked about this and knows exactly what this was. I'm not going to bother explaining. Lakers are A+ times however many threats Nico Harrison got in the past week. This is the easiest A+ I can give. Next up, Philly fans, who had a really weird deadline. They had a really disappointing season so far with a lot of injuries, per the usual, and their trades all seem to point to a big move. Sends out KJ Martin, Caleb Martin in 4 seconds, I think, for Quentin Grimes, Jimmy Butler in like 5 seconds. So it cleared up a lot of money, but no trade happened. I'm guessing it was to position their cap to make them more competitive on the buyout market. So they're going to get a B- because I think Grimes is a nice piece there long term. Just kind of a confusing deadline for them. Alright, so I'm gonna run through a few more. The Rockets, who got Jaden Springer and Cody Zeller, basically for a second round pick, I'm gonna give them A-. They got a somewhat playable backup big and a really nice defensive young guard for free. That's an easy A-. The Celtics, who gave up Jaden Springer, they couldn't play him and then proceeded to lose a game in which they definitely needed him. They get an F+ because it just basically didn't do shit. Sam Presti didn't escape the allegations. OKC got Daniel Tice and a second round pick for cash. Tice got waived. So basically just bought a second round pick. They'll get a B+ because sure, free pick. The Grizzlies, they finally got rid of Marcus Smart, who's been really bad for them, and they had to attach a pick. Bagley won't play. Johnny Davis is bad at the sport. So basically this entire deal with a salary dump for Smart, they get a C. Alright, fun one. We got the Jazz, who had a really weird deadline. Basically any big trade, the Jazz were some way involved. Jimmy Butler, Luka, and ended up getting KJ Martin, Phoenix's 2031 first round pick, which is really good, and 4 second round picks for 3 ass firsts and Drew Eubanks. I'm gonna give them an A because this is exactly what rebuilding teams should do. Sneak into deals and profit off dumb GMs of big teams. This is just a great deadline for Utah. I don't have a transition for this one. We got the Hornets next, who gave up 2 very serviceable centers for Nurkic, necked 2 firsts, a swap, and 3 seconds. This basically gave the starting center spot to Musa, and who's basically been really nice this season, and they got a bunch of picks. Mark Williams was nice, but he couldn't defend or stand at court, and trading Nick Richards basically to give them money to fuck around with. Some people don't like the trades, but I think this is a really good deadline for a rebuilding team, A-. Alright, so now for the Suns, who the Hornets traded with 2 different times. Basically, everyone thought going in, the Suns would have the biggest trade deadline, trading Jimmy Butler, or trading Kevin Durant, trading Bradley Beal, trading Devin Booker even. They had to do something to fix this roster because it wasn't working. But basically in the end, they just salary dumped Nurkic and replaced him with Nick Richards, who's really solid for them. They got a few mid firsts. Basically couldn't do anything with the Bradley Beal trade blocking. So I'll give them a respectable C+ because I don't know what else they could have done. Next up, we're going to shift gears to the Pistons, who were in talks about trading Jalen Duren, but instead decided to keep him. So their trade deadline was basically just getting in on the big ass Jimmy Butler trade and taking in Dennis Schroeder after being rerouted for like 6 different teams and just basically got him for a few seconds. Now, the Pistons have been really fun to watch this year, especially with Cade Cunningham's resurgence as a top 5 point guard in my opinion. And getting a Dennis Schroeder-like player for free makes their playoff push even more exciting to be able to watch. So, the Pistons get an A+. Alright, now time for the Bucks, who had a semi-controversial deadline. They got rid of longtime fan favorite Chris Middleton for Enes Kanter and Kyle Kuzma. Now, I want to be as neutral as possible here, but the 2 players I got make that really hard. I don't need to explain why I don't like Kevin Porter Jr., but getting Kyle Kuzma, who is basically a certified diva, and replacing Chris Middleton, who is the most like uncontroversial, team-oriented player possible, is just interesting. I think Kyle Kuzma's exit from Washington, comments towards the team itself during his time there, and his comments towards Dallas at the last deadline are just very indicative of the type of player that he is. And the way I see it, I don't see him impacting a winning team at all. So the Bucks did get younger with KPJ and Kuzma, and they're more consistent with Kuzma being locked into a longer contract and less injury prone. But youth isn't always the key. I don't see it helping them in the long term. They get a C+. Alright, speaking of the Wizards, let's talk about them. They got a really big deadline. They got rid of Kuzma, Jonas, Bagley, Pat Baldwin, all for Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton, AJ, Sidi Sissoko, Reggie Jackson, some firsts, some seconds, and a swap. And again, this is exactly how rebuilding teams should approach the deadline. They get some solid vets with playoff experience from good cultures to instill those values into your rookies. I think Chris Middleton is a perfect mentor figure for Coulibaly, especially replacing Kuzma, who was actively holding back his development. And although they could have sold higher on Kuzma if they didn't wait until this year, I think they got a solid return. Washington gets a B+. So the Wizards, the Pistons, and the Jazz have all proven to be good examples of what you should do as a rebuilding team. The Bulls are the exact opposite. They waited way too long and they got rid of Zach LaVine finally for, get ready for it, Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own pick. A pick that was top 10 protected and they were already probably going to get. So This is what happens when you wait too long. They tried flipping the guys what they got, but no one wanted them, even though I feel like Trey Jones should have a lot of value as a nice defensive guard. So now they have Lonzo, Kobe, Trey, Io, and Giddey as their guards. They have way too many, and they still somehow have Vucevic, even though the Warriors were such a clear landing spot. But this is how Chicago moves, so I'm sorry, Bulls fans, but it's gonna have to be an F. Alright, I'm re-recording this Kings part because I think I was unnecessarily mean. Also, I got parts about the Fox trade wrong, so let's talk about it. The Kings traded Fox because there was already worries about the firing of the coach, and he didn't like that. And there was worries that he would go to the Spurs free agency, so I understand the trade. But they still built basically another Chicago Bulls. They gave Fox, Hoarder, and seconds for Valanciunas, Levine, 2 firsts and 4 seconds. The Kings basically went from mid to mid, and instead of choosing to really enter a rebuild, they chose to stay in the middle of the pack phase. But all things considered, they could have done worse. I think Levine is still really solid. I really love Malik Monk. I love Devin Carter, and Jonas Valanciunas is not that bad. So I'm gonna give them a B-, but I feel like I was way too mean to them in my original recording, so I'm gonna fix that. Sorry, Kings fans. Alright, I'm gonna go rapid fire some teams because I don't have that much to say about them. First off, the Knicks, who gave up Jericho Sims for DeLon Wright. DeLon Wright fits better in the tip system, a small, really raw defensive guard who's old. He gets the C. The Clippers got Bogdanovic, who had a very mid-season, and they salary dumped PJ Tucker / Mo Bamba. They sent out Terrence Mann, Bones, and KPJ. So they basically just gotta hope that Bogdan gets back to his old form next to Harden. They get a C+. Now we have the Pacers, who dumped James Wiseman for money. He's already out of the season, doesn't really impact them. They'll definitely be active on the buyout market, but I kind of just wish they consolidated more. They could have got value by trading guys like Obi Toppin and bringing up some minutes for Jarius Walker. So sure, they get a C+. The Pelicans, they sent out Ingram and Daniel Tice for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a first and a second. It's not bad. DeJounte Murray is out for the year, and they basically got an expiring deal on an alright center plus some picks for Ingram. This trade just opens up more wings minutes for them, so I can't blame them. They get a B. Now the Hawks, who sent out Bogey and DeAndre Hunter for Mann, Karras, Niang, and picks. I get moving Bogey, who's been kind of ass, but DeAndre Hunter finally became good this season. And maybe they wanted to sell high before his value fell. This doesn't make that much sense. Yes, he makes a boatload of money, but also you're the Hawks and you don't own your own picks, so you're not going to be able to tank. It's just stupid. They get a C+. Now the Raptors, who sent out dudes who didn't really fit their timeline, and a pick for expiring Ingram. At first, I was confused because I thought that Ingram and RJ were kind of redundant to have next to each other, but after overthinking about that, I realized I was being stupid, and I think they got a small boost for them to be good offensively, which is exactly what Ingram gives them. So with how little they gave up, it's a B+. Now, finally, of these last rapid fire teams, we got the Cavs, who gave Karis LeVert, I think some seconds and some firsts for DeAndre Hunter. This is exactly what Cleveland needed. This is one of my favorite deals. This is an A. I love it. Okay, now time to talk about the Warriors and the Heat. First off, the Heat, who got a new number 22. That was kind of funny. So Wiggins, Slow-Mo, Davion Mitchell, and a pick for Jimmy, J. Rich, and a second-round pick. This is basically probably as good as probably could have gone. I'm glad they didn't get Beal, and I think Wiggins and Davion will fit in really good to the Heat culture. It's a B+. All right, now we got the Warriors, who, if we're being honest, they had to go all in. They can't be this middle of the pack. They can't do the 2 timelines thing, and they went all in on Jimmy Butler. They tried for Kevin Durant. Apparently, a deal was close, but KD was like, I'm not going back there, and I don't blame him for that. But they also called out Paul George, which somehow would have been worse. So they got Jimmy for Wiggins, which sucks to lose, but sure, and Dennis Schroeder, who's been ass. They didn't have to give up Moody. They did not have to give up Pods, and they didn't give up Kuminga. So defensively, this team is really nice, but ultimately they still have so many flaws. They're in a really ugly Western Conference, and giving Jimmy Butler $60 million a year is nasty. The risk possibilities between Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green are also very nasty and funny. I'm gonna give them a very ugly B. All right, last team, we got the Spurs. And as a former Mavericks fan, this disgusts me. They basically got Fox for free. Zach Collins sucked. Trey Jones didn't fit that much, and the picks mean nothing. The Hawks Spurs game was so fun to watch. De'Aaron Fox, the perfect fit with Wemby. Yes, maybe Trae Young would have been better. Yes, maybe Luka Doncic, LaMelo Ball would have been better, but De'Aaron Fox, so fun to watch with Wemby. Those lobs were crazy, and the Spurs elevated from playing hopefuls to now pushing for that 6-8 seed. The Wemby era is right around the corner. Get ready for it. This is the second easiest A+ times 1 billion of the video. And that's basically it. This video took way longer than it should have. I basically spent 4 hours the past week mainly tracking every trade just to remember Bleacher Report would end up doing it anyway. So that I wasted a lot of time for no reason. And by the time I uploaded this, the deadline's probably like 2 days in the past, but I'm spending this time because I want to make good stuff for y'all to see on Twitter and on the blog. So I hope y'all enjoyed. Leave comments what y'all agreed with or what y'all disagreed with. I want to hear it all. Thank you for spending time listening to me yap. Bye.